Hi smart investors, welcome to the channel. I'm Elliot and today we're going to be trying something a little bit different. I'm going to be walking you guys through how to set up a stock tracking portfolio with Google Sheets. Now, why would we want to do this? You know, we get all this data from our broker anyway. Why does it matter, Elliot? Well, for me, I like to track everything. I like to track it all. And this is just a small part of what I actually do with my stock portfolio tracking. I actually have my other investments in various worksheets as well. So I can collate that data and bring it in to work out net worth. I can have charts and I can basically amalgamate everything and control every aspect of it. I know that might seem a little bit OCD, but it really is beneficial and it helps me for my goal tracking and being able to analyze all of my money at once at any time. With Google Sheets, you are getting a lot of data for free that you can utilize, and for what we can't, we're going to pull that in externally. I'll show you guys how to do that as well. So let's go over to Google Sheets and I will show you how we can put it all together. To save some time, I've pre-set up the template with our headings that we need and a few other bits and pieces as well. So up the top, we've got in black all of our subheadings. On the side here, we've got portfolio. Now the reason why I've done this is so that you can have multiple portfolios, whether it be for a spouse or maybe you've got a super account or you've got another account with a different broker. So this way you can track all of that. Then up here, we've got ABC, XYZ trading account. This is the cash component. So what we're going to do is we're going to fill that in with $5,000 as our sample money. Next, we're going to create stock codes. So let's go Boeing. We'll do Tesla. Now for the Australian stocks, we're going to need to do ASX : ABT. So that's Afterpay, and ASX NAB. This is going to help us to get data. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use Google Finance. All we need to do here is select the cell, type in Google Finance, and we're going to say, hey, look at B4, and we want you to return the name for us. We hit enter. Perfect. Boeing Co. All you need to do is drag that down, and we've got all of our other company names as well. Shares is the number we have in the company. These can be fractional, but I always keep to solid numbers for ease. I add all my stock transactions to another sheet and reference the transaction. This is slightly overkill, but I like to keep a unified record and can track profit and loss. But for our purposes, we will just manually add it here. So let's say, okay. All right, for our average cost, this is the amount you've purchased one lot of stocks for. Then add the price you paid. If you have purchased multiple, you'll need to add the total cost of all lots and then divide by the amount of shares you own to get the average price. But for our purposes, we're just going to make this up. So Boeing, let's say we paid 120. Tesla, let's say we paid 245. Afterpay, we paid $3, and NAB we paid 60. Market price will utilize Google Finance again and reference our stock code. To get the market price, we're going to use the same formula that we use to get the company name. Only we're going to ask it to return us the price instead of the name. And we've got a suggested autofill from Google here. We can just hit Control and enter and it's going to pre-fill it for us. And that's the current market prices for these 4 companies. Unfortunately, Google doesn't provide the dividend data that we need. So we're going to have to use an external website to get this information. For our purposes, we're going to use FinViz, which is limited to US stocks only. Australian stocks will just have to go without. To save some time, I've just pasted in this code and I'll explain it. We're basically importing HTML from FinViz and we're using our stock code lookup, B4, which is the BA code for Boeing. And we're looking for tables. And most importantly, we're looking for the 8th table in the HTML code. Okay. Then we are looking for the 8th row, 2nd column. We have a look here, 8th row and the 2nd column, and Boeing doesn't have a dividend. So we should get that back when I hit enter. And what do you know? We get the hyphen, but it's got a couple of asterisks around it, and that does not look good. But maybe you want to use that so you can see that it is data being pulled in from an external site. However, for me, I like things to look nice, so I'm wrapping this in a substitute tag. Okay. Nothing else is different. It's just that we've put substitute in the start, and then we are basically saying, hey, look, if you have an asterisk in here, I want you to replace it with a space. We hit enter, and boom, there's our hyphen. And it's just a matter of dragging that down. But wait, there is no data available here. That's because FinViz doesn't have data for the Australian stocks, and it can't even look up that URL that it's getting, because it's basically saying, look at this quote, ASX : Afterpay code, and it's unable to get that URL because it simply doesn't exist. We head back to FinViz. We can have a look at Boeing and the sector it's in. It's in industrials. I do all this manually. I haven't found a way to be able to do this automatically at the moment because this information is not contained within the data table, making it hard to import that information. This will allow me to see how much of my portfolio invested in a particular sector, whether it be industrials or energy. Just really allows me to see that from a topographic point of view. Similar to how we got the dividend, we're going to use the same formula and we're going to get the data from FinViz. So we're looking for SMA 20. Okay, so we're going to have to go down 12 rows and then across 4 to get this information. And then we've got 6 and then 8. So if we just change this information, change that to 12, and we change that to 4, there's our SMA 20 at 5.6, exactly. Once again, we've got not applicable for the Australian data, and that's okay. What SMA is basically a simple moving average based on 20 days, 50 days, and 200 days. It's calculating the average over the time period and then charting that. This might be a bit overkill. However, I like to use the flags just to reduce on the amount of words that I have within my spreadsheet. You could just do, USD, for example, or what you could do is you could go to Wikipedia flags, and basically you right click and copy the URL for the image. Then it's just a matter of inserting an image into cell, and then by URL. And you paste your URL here, insert image. Very easy. Then once you've got all your flags on the page, it's just a matter of copying and pasting it in. Very easy. Looks professional. Cost basis is very straightforward. This is just the total amount you paid for the shares. You could add any commission charge from your broker here too. It's a fairly easy calculation. Amount of shares times by average cost. And you can do it very simply. We'll use the sum, and we're going to do D4 times E4. And that will give us our cost basis. Then we just roll that out to the other stock positions. Stop loss is absolutely critical. You wouldn't drive a car without a seatbelt, so why would you let a trade continue to lose money? We're going to set this up with sum, and it's going to be the average cost times by 0.9. We're going to use a sum, so equals sum, and we are going to get the average cost, which is E4. And we're going to multiply that by 0.9 to give us a 10% stop loss. Have a look what we paid for it. It's $120. And if the stock was to drop 10% from that point, it would be $108. If you wanted to change this to be, let's say, 15% stop loss, you could change it to 85, 102. If you wanted to be 50%, 0.5. And $60, so half of 120 is 60. Pretty straightforward. Our price target. Now this is the percentage profit target you were trying to achieve with this stock holding. You set your value and check that it's a percentage type. Very easy. So let's aim for 100%, 350%, 60%, and 15%. This is something you'll just determine based on the stock and how much you're looking to profit on. So now that we've got our price target percentages, we're going to look at the price target dollars. We're going to use a sum to calculate this one, and we're going to get our average cost. We're going to multiply that by 1, and then we're going to plus it with our price target 04. close that off. So just to reiterate, this is an average cost times 1 plus the price target percentage. Okay, so for us to make 100% profit on Boeing at $120 when we bought it, we need the price to hit $240. And we just roll this out across the others, and there we go. We can see Tesla 345 would need to go to 1,552 to be an increase of 350%. Potential profit is the potential monetary profit you would earn if you sold at your price target. Once again, we're going to use sum, and we're going to get the price target in dollars, which will be the P4, and we're going to times that by the amount of shares that we have, which is D4, and we're going to minus the cost basis for that, which was M4. Okay, that's the potential profit if we got 100%. Growth percentage is your percentage increase or decrease since purchase in relation to the current market price. We'll simply do a sum. For this sum, we're going to do market price minus the average cost divided by the average cost. So market price is F4. We're going to minus the average cost, which is E4. Then we're going to divide by E4 to get the average cost, to get the growth percentage. So currently, from our average cost at 120 and the market price now at 214, we're up 78%. All right, as you can see, everything is good except our last one in National Australia Bank. It's down nearly negative 62%. We're going to skip growth dollar, and we're going to come back to that as we need the market value first to work out this calculation. The market value is the current value of your stock holdings. Do a sum, and we're simply going to do shares multiplied by the market price. So D4 times F4. Excellent. Now we can go back to the growth dollar, and this is how much money you have made or lost in terms of dollars. We're going to do another sum, and we're going to work out the market value minus the cost basis. DF4 minus back to the growth dollar, and this is how much money you have made or lost in terms of dollars. To work out this calculation, we're going to reduce the cost basis from the market value. Get our market value, T4, minus the cost basis, which is M4. Okay, and we can easily see our profit there. Down the bottom, we have totals. As you can see, I have US equities and Australian equities, and then the total. You might have more currencies, or you might just have your local currency. For me, I translate everything back into my local currency, but you can decide how you want to do that. None of these initial columns we want a total. It's irrelevant. For the cost basis though, we certainly do. So another way you can do a sum, nice and easy, is just come into function, click sum, and we're going to just sum these two American stocks, and that's the total. And we're going to do the same for the Australian. Easy. It's quite simple for us to do this for the other ones as well. Okay, and then once you've got those, you can just drag it out. For this last one, because we have cash in this account, I want to include that into this total down the bottom, and that's just a matter of us changing to go from T3 to T5. But you could also just include it by writing T3, T2, and that would include it that way too if it wasn't in alignment, but this will do from T3 to T5, as you can see with the highlighting. For the last one, we're going to have to do a currency conversion, and we can use Google Finance for that. Our first one we're going to do is we're going to get a sum, and we're going to get M10, which is our Australian value, you see highlighted, and we're going to plus that with Google Finance, and we're going to say USD AUD to translate it from US dollar to Australian, and we're going to multiply that by the US value, which is M9. There we go. Now we have our final value. Instead of me redoing this, I'm just going to drag it out, turn these values back into little dashes, and there we go. These are all our totals now lined up, ready to go. Now you're probably thinking, well, Elliot, that's great, but you might be questioning how I got these values to be green in relation to being a positive or a negative number. This is something called conditional formatting, and it's not very hard to use. For the stop loss, I just made these all red because they're always going to be red. It's not a good number. If it's hitting these numbers, it's very negative. So I've just made those red. But for these other ones, you can see that if it's a negative number, it has actually gone into red. So what you do is you just select the cells you want and you go up to Format, Conditional Formatting, and you can see that I've got some different values here going on. You can just add another rule if you don't have any there already. You select your range, which if you've highlighted, they'll already be selected. You can go Format Cells if greater than 0, okay? And you can change the color or make it bold, make it underlined, whatever you want to do, and style it that way. And then if you want it to be red when it's less than 0, a negative number, then you just do the inverse, and then you can choose, a red background if you want it with white text. I've locked these top 2 rows just in case I need to scroll down. I'll still know exactly what each column represents. And that's just a matter of selecting the rows and choosing view and freeze, and then you freeze the rows or columns. For the people that want to take advantage of the portfolio tracker but don't really want to put it all together, that's totally fine. I completely understand. That's why I'm making it available. You can check out the description and you can get yourself a copy of it through Google Sheets as well. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Look, I'd love to do a few more on these and just kind of explain the other sections of my net worth tracking spreadsheet as well. So I might do some videos on that in the future, depending on whether you guys like it or not. Cool. I'll catch you guys next time. See ya.